Very good evening to you. It's Friday night. It's after 7 o'clock. Dennis had some internet troubles. It looks as if he still has them. But you are live here with us on the football pitch. Probably talking predominantly Scottish game tonight as we look ahead at the weekend's fixtures, discuss the title running. I think we need to look back at VAR as well. Some travesties last weekend. And obviously the preceding weekend as well. And pretty much, as I say, I think that's where we are. We'll obviously, as I say, take a look at the Old Firm game this weekend too. And there we are. Dennis has joined us. But we're joined, as I say, tonight. It is a welcome back. We've had a 3-week break, a 2-week holiday, and then I felt as lousy as what Dennis's internet connection appears to be last weekend. But as I say, we're joined tonight by, as always, my regular co-host, Dennis Newell, regular attenders, Ian Harrison, and Hearts fan who's still smiling, Graham Duffy. Graham, I'll start with yourself. How are we doing?
Fantastic. This gets better and better every week, doesn't it? Thoroughly enjoying it.
It really does. It really does. You know, Hibs done your turn last week. Livingston done your turn. It was the Lothian team, you know, the Lothian young team, if you like. You know, they done the teams for the West of Scotland last weekend, but we'll come on to that. Dennis, how's things? Internet starting to work?
No, I had to change my computer. Sorry about that. The other ones took the right somewhere along the line. It's bending now, so you've got that close-up one, which is even 10 times worse than the other one I used. But never mind, we'll get there.
It is what it is. And Ian, how's things up north? How's Aberdeen? How's the weather? Is the snow eventually defrosted for the last time we spoke?
It has indeed. The sun's been shining, but certainly not in Pittodrie. So 20-odd days we went. I think nearly 28 days, I think it was, without any sunshine. But no, over Aberdeen itself, it hasn't been that great. Cove hasn't been much better, to be honest with you. They seem they're stots and bangs, and they're heading towards being in the playoff, I think, for relegation. But yeah, you never know. They may improve. I think Aberdeen are. I think with Tony Docherty coming in, I'm a great admirer of him. He is a good coach, and I think he'll turn things around there. And I think we will see a bit of improvement. But even managed a game without getting somebody sent off last week, so that's a start. But I do believe that things will improve, albeit speaking to a lot of the diehards who are even they're selecting their games now. The ones that would have turned up every week, they are now selective in their games. The complete diehards, the away supporters, I'm pretty sure you'll have a big contingency for Aberdeen down. Is it tomorrow, Graham, or is it Sunday? Is it tomorrow?
Oh, it's tomorrow. It's tomorrow.
It is tomorrow. Yeah, they've a big squad down, I think, for Aberdeen. The away sport's always been good. They always enjoy a day out.
We'll look ahead to
the score.
We'll look ahead to the game at Tynecastle tomorrow. Obviously, Graham, again, massive game for yourselves. The season is still continuing. You know, at the end of the day, still sitting top of the league, 4 points clear of Rangers. Irrespective of what happens this weekend, Hearts will still finish the month of February. We keep saying it every month. We'll finish the month of February top of the table.
Yeah, it's funny because, I think I said this the last time I was on. For the last few months, all I've heard is Hearts are going to fall off, they'll fall away, they won't keep this up. And yet, with 10 games to go, we're still topping well in a title race. It's been fantastic. I think last week was a big game against Falkirk. I was there, we didn't play that well, but we got the win. And then it means you can sit back and then watch what happens the day after, and we couldn't have had better results than that. I was hoping Livingston could have held out for a win, but I'll take that all day long. We had a great weekend last week. But we've got to build on that now. We do have injuries. I'm sure everyone knows that. We do have injuries, but tomorrow is a big opportunity. If we can win that game, we go 7 points ahead of Rangers, 9 ahead of Celtic, game in hand, and they play on Sunday. This could be another really pivotal weekend. I thought last week was pivotal, but this weekend could be even more pivotal. And we've got a 2-week break after that because we're not in the Scottish Cup. Maybe not a bad thing. I'd like a cup run, but given the way things are going with injuries we've got, it might not be a bad thing. So yeah, it's just I am still very, very calm, very relaxed about this whole thing. That might change. If we get to the split, still top or even like 1 or 2 points behind, that feeling might change. But at the moment, I'm still very calm. Looking forward to every game, getting the excitement back. I mean, people are looking at tomorrow's game thinking this will be a walk in the park. I don't think it will. I know Aberdeen have been really poor this season. They've not won at Tynecastle since 2017. They've not won an away game since the 6th of December against Dundee. But you do have that feeling that things have got to change at some point. Hopefully it's not tomorrow, but this has just been, I keep on saying it every time I'm on here, this has been an incredible season. And I've said it before as well, the amount of folk that I see on TikTok, on Twitter, that are not fans of Scottish football, that are taking a real interest in this title race. And it's because of teams like Hearts and Motherwell. It's been fantastic. And if we can keep this going, unbelievable. I'm thoroughly enjoying this so far.
Yeah. Dennis, Graham's right. He should enjoy it. You know, as a Hearts fan, it's something he should be enjoying. It doesn't come around every season. Mm-hmm. I heard today a couple of guys in the work were likening it to obviously Leicester, the Premier League a number of seasons ago, when the stars aligned, you know, in terms of obviously Man City were poor, Spurs were poor, but Leicester that season certainly were deserving of lifting the title. And I think the same could be said about Hearts this season. You know, yes, Rangers and Celtic haven't performed consistently over the season to merit being top of the table, whereas to my mind, Hearts certainly have done enough to merit the side who, going into March, sit atop their SPL.
I totally agree that they are there in merit. I've only one concern, and that's the injuries. The injuries to Finlay, you then go through it, you'll get your centre forward knackered, your main Devlin as well, injured. And I look at that as the spine of your team. I know Gordon's not playing, but he's it as well. So you look down that spine and I think, have they got enough to bring in that'll lift him to the next level? The next level is trying to get a gap opened up a bit more than where it is at this moment in time. And I don't think, having watched the game closely last week, they're stretching that. You said the game was poor against Falkirk. I agree with that. But I think the bodies that have actually come in to replace the ones that are injured are not as good. Devlin is badly missed from where I'm stacked up. It was everything that Hearts needed. He's taking out. I think the replacements are no great. The big fella up front, what's his name? Graham, what is it?
Kabori.
Yeah. I think sometimes he's pulling a tractor. When you look at what you had before, I just think that yous are doing brilliant. And my fear is that because of the injuries, that could hurt yous and you could lose it, not because you aren't the best team in Scotland, but because of the injuries piling up. And I don't think there's enough in reserve. I'm just looking at the substitutes now. There's enough on that bench that can come on and replace what yous have actually lost. And that's my fear. But you're there and you're quite right to be delighted and over the moon with it, because they're still not caught yet and they won't catch you at the weekend as far as I'm concerned, or anywhere near it. I think the best that they'll do with each other at the weekend is get a draw with two bad teams as they are. And Hearts can keep going. I don't think you will lose against Aberdeen, because although Tony Dock's up there, I think that it'll be a slow process. And you should get something out of that game. But that's my fear, Graham. I must admit, I don't know if you are looking at it or just let's keep ploughing on. But what you need is a strong squad. And that, I repeat, is maybe the fear in the run-in. I don't know if you have any, Shankland coming back, Devlin coming back, Finlay, how long he's out for. I think even if it's 3 or 4 games, you could get him back. That would be a massive difference. But just now, you're really having to play out your skin to keep that gap.
Well, I know that Finlay's out for 6 weeks.
Yeah, I think I heard that.
Devlin could be back after we've had this break.
Right.
And I think the word is that Shankland will be back for potentially Motherwell in a few weeks' time. So we could get them back. But I think defensively, I think we've got McCart can play. We've got Steinwender.
Right.
We've got options that can play alongside Craig Halkett.
Yeah.
I think midfield, we've got Benny back, McEntee's back. I actually think Mark Leonard's been really good. And actually, I think as well, the one thing I would say is, yes, Shankly's been a massive miss. But I actually think Claudio Braga has really stepped up in the last few weeks.
Brilliant.
His performances have been fantastic. And it's not just
goal. Yeah.
His overall work rate is that boy just does not stop. The amount of pressing he does, he comes off that park knackered. No wonder. Because I actually think since Shankly's been out, he has really stepped up. I've been very, very impressed.
I would agree with that. Braga has been exceptional and probably one of the best we've got in the country at this moment in time up front. And I think he's been a revelation to Hearts. And it's just a pity Shanklin wasn't fit, because the two of them were added a lot of firepower to us. And that, again, you're asking one man to do it, and I believe in every team, you shouldn't be asking one individual. You need everybody around about. And but he's certainly been outstanding. There's no doubt about it. And he's a threat. You get the ball to him, you've always a good chance.
The one thing for me, if you look at last week's result, is obviously the disappointing result the week before. You bounced back last week. You know, okay, maybe you didn't play particularly well, but to me, champions and sides who do well are sides who can grind out results when things aren't going their way. You know, and to me, that's what Hearts did last week. They ground out a result against a side who, in Falkirk, we know they're very resilient. We know they're difficult to break down. And we know they've caused Hearts a bit of a problem. Previously, obviously, they knocked you out the cup. You know, so to my mind, as I say, last weekend's is a massive, massive weekend, but a massive result for you guys, as I say, when bouncing back for the week before and getting that victory in a game where you weren't playing at your best, Graham.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Every time Hearts have lost this season, it's not been a lot, but every time we have lost, we have then won the next game. So there is a real bounce back from this team. They know what to take here. And I think, Derek McInnes did a thing a few days ago in the Gorgie Suite. I wasn't there, but a few folk I know were. And he said that the players actually, they understand how much this means. And I think it is a case of, I would love to be playing the football Motherwell playing. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to be playing some swashbuckling football, but it doesn't always guarantee results. All I want is 3 points. I don't care if we do it. Same as tomorrow. If we win 1-0 with a goal off somebody's backside, I could not care less. Just win the game, pick up the points, and then put the pressure right back on Celtic and Rangers. And that's what we've done all season. We've picked up really valuable points when we've been not playing well. And, the best teams don't always play well, but they've managed to find a way to win. And that is exactly what champions do. We've seen Celtic do it numerous times over the course of the last number of seasons. They might have to play well, but they just win. And that's all that Hearts can do, just keep on winning. And if we keep doing that, then we've got a massive opportunity here.
Yeah. And the one thing as well, Ian.
Yeah, sorry.
Ian, Dennis,
is Aberdeen going to be a threat to Hearts on Sunday?
I would say no, but we're struggling to score. Simple as that. Hearts' defence is pretty good. They've only lost about 20-odd goals this season. 22, 24, something along that lines. We're struggling up front. Nisbet flatters to deceive as far as I'm concerned. But they're rebuilding. Look at the Motherwell game. I mean, we beat Motherwell in the Cup. Should never have lost. Motherwell shouldn't have lost that game. Again, Cammie's going to touch on VAR. I mean, the decisions, and I think that is making a huge impact on results at the moment. We're speaking more about referees, VAR, incorrect decision, whatever, and they're having a huge effect on how teams are. Now, not only that is the suspensions that come along with that, right?
Yeah.
So, are Aberdeen get caught as a threat? I wouldn't have thought so. We'll huff and puff, but we're struggling to create chances. I think that is the reality of it. And as I say, Hearts have got, but we throw in the odd daft result. I mean, we put 6 past, I think it was 6 past Livingston after having been beaten, and then of course, but it's keeping. We've managed to keep 11 on the park last week, but. And that may or may not, but I genuinely don't believe that Hearts will have too big a problem against that. They may struggle to score, but I don't think defensively they've been playing well. So unless Aberdeen get a couple of flukes, the confidence is low now. And just as you said earlier, it's going to take weeks, if not to the end of the season, before there's any form of. They're still going through the Jimmy thing where Thielen went. We bought in a load of young Scandinavian players who are now just sitting in the wings, and we've sort of built they're not getting much of a game at all. But the team that we have, that they want to play, there's not a lot left. And then you look at a game, and are they going to take any of the subs on? Well, a lot of the time, are you going to improve the team by putting? No, you're not. So I think Aberdeen are struggling a wee bit. And as I say, the die-hard supporters that I've been speaking to, even they're selecting the games to go to. So, they're just saying it's not enjoyable to watch. So I might be 100% wrong, but and I certainly do wish Hearts all the best come tomorrow.
Yeah. The next two games, Graham, that I'm trying to pick out here is one of them's against Dundee. And I think the first one you've got, is it against Kilmarnock away?
Yep.
Their 6 points with the strength that you've got at this moment in time are really, you would expect to be bankers. And that's the ones that can create a banana skin. And that's, as much as you look at the Aberdeen game and Ian's thinking you'll not get anything out of it, I wouldn't expect or Aberdeen again, I wouldn't expect Hearts to be considering they would drop anything then in the next 3 games. And yet you look at Celtic and Rangers have got to play each other on Sunday. So that'll take a dent on whatever one of them wins that or loses it or even draws. That'll make an effect to the two teams. And that, again, could help Hearts. But you've got to keep and maintain that high level. And that's what I think he's doing by getting the results, not necessarily the performances, but the results is everything that counts. And we've seen it year in and year out. The Old Firm continually will get results without playing the best football in the world. But like I said, about a month or 6 weeks ago, when Hearts were looking pretty good, was the Old Firm, when they were starting to tidy up a bit better, they'll not go through the whole season without dropping points, and nothing was surer. And likewise on Sunday when the Celtic went down to Hibs. And that'll be the case. Rangers and Celtic will still drop points. So even if things don't go 100% in Hearts' direction at the weekend, I wouldn't think for a minute that it was anywhere that you'd think the ceiling's come down on you. But again, I'll repeat it again. The worry is the fact that you've got key players in your team injured. But as you say, get a couple of them back in the next 2 or 3 weeks, bolsters you again.
I think, to be fair, there is only 2 teams which are under pressure out of the 3.
Yeah.
Hearts are under no pressure whatsoever.
Yeah.
All they should be doing is enjoying the moment and just keep going. And both Celtic and Rangers will be feeling a huge amount of pressure because they've got huge financial issues, especially with the fact that it looks as if Scotland's going down to 1 team going into the Champions League next year.
Mm-hmm.
Celtic will be absolutely, especially Celtic, because they've taken it for granted. They've got that X amount, whatever millions it is that they get. Can you imagine the boost it is for Hearts if they get that 20, 30 million or whatever it is just by getting into Champions League next year?
I would be.
It's absolutely huge.
Yeah,
I'd be
delighted because the Old Firm need a shake-up with the way they've mismanaged the club in the last 2 years at least.
Correct.
And I'll go back to and have a wee rant about Celtic. Celtic, and I keep going on about this, couldn't score goals to qualify into the Champions League or continue, right? Yep. Because they sold Kyogo. I don't care what you say. It was false in relation to, he's in his 30s or whatever, and we get 10, 12 million, whatever for him. You needed a goal scorer, and they didn't replace him. And because of that, they lost £40 million by not qualifying. Then I look at another way of thinking, how do they work this out? Ingles had the opportunity, or the club had, to sell him to Notts Forest for 25 million. Is he honestly a 25 million pound player? Never mind England, but even in Scotland at 11 million what they paid for him? No, absolutely not. And he won't give you 25 million pounds worth of good football that is worthwhile keeping a hold of him. So you look at that, there's two occasions that have lost money. £40 million for qualifying and 25 million for no cashing in Ingles. They've got Chamberlain there, who to me is a far better player with a better pedigree that came in the window and will do a better job. Ingles is, for me, an average player. For 25 million, I'd have drove him down to Nottingham myself.
Yeah.
Seriously. So that kind of mismanagement with the old firm, just going back to Cammy, we're talking about how delighted I would certainly be, and I'm sure there are a lot of others, if you want to be just a neutral in this, is if Hearts won the Premier League and got into the Champions League, because I feel the two clubs, Celtic and Rangers, have been mismanaged, spending money badly and thinking that all they've got to do is turn up. Well, Hearts have shown them this year that's not going to be the case. So if Hearts go and win that one place, as Ian's rightly said, there's one place for the Champions League in Scotland. If Hearts got that, I think it would be magnificent. I really do.
Just on what you were saying there.
In the Champions League, Graham?
What's that?
How do you think Hearts would cope in the Champions League? You've obviously struggled.
We'd get absolutely battered every week, but I'd thoroughly enjoy it. Incredible.
Be great. But I was just going to say, on the back of what Dennis was saying there, you've got the players that are being bought for 11 and whatever millions for Celtic, and then they've got the likes of Hearts, who brought in Harry Milne from Partick Thistle I've no idea how much they paid for him, probably a hell of a lot. He's turning out to be one of the best players this season, and I was watching him just a few years ago playing in the Highland League. So there is talent there in Scotland. If you look at it, the Rangers seem to refuse to look at how that's going to come through. But anyway, that's my little rant. Is there
a snobbery at Rangers and Celtic where they don't want to go down the leagues or they don't want to look at other players? I mean, I hear Rangers fans I work alongside Graham talking about they need to try and break the bank to go and bring in Braga, who's obviously proved himself at Hearts, come the end of the season, obviously, but is there a snobbery, do we think, at Rangers and Celtic where they think they have to go overseas to bring in whoever they want to bring in from, well, it seems to be Africa just now, or certain parts of Europe or Asia or whatever else, that if you don't have a foreign sounding name, that you aren't worthy of a place at Rangers or Celtic. Graham, as a Hearts fan, what do you think?
This is why for years and years and years, whenever a young player is doing well in Scotland, I don't want them to go to Celtic and Rangers because they won't play. And it's happened numerous times. I've seen it so many times over the years where a really, really good youngster has a really good game against Celtic and Rangers and they go, right, we'll take them. And then they get stuck on the bench and you never see them again. That is why I'm quite glad that we are now getting players that are actually, youngsters especially, are actually going abroad and playing abroad. I think because they're getting time. That's what it should be about. I mean, I look at like our own young talent, James Wilson, who moved to Spurs under 21s, and Derek McInnes said it was a bad move. Last week is on the bench against Arsenal. I think it's because they got injuries. He never got on. But I think it's not. I don't think it's a bad move for him. I think he will maybe, if he stays permanently, get a chance. But I just think for any young player, I don't think go to Rangers Celtic is the right move because they won't play. They'll get stuck on the bench and they'll bring in some unknown foreign player that nobody's ever heard of. I mean, I look at Celtic just now and I look at the January window they had. Yes, they didn't spend anything in terms of transfer fees, but the only one that's actually any decent is Oxlade-Chamberlain. The rest of the players they brought in look horrendous. Yes, I mean, I generally think their transfer window was awful. I don't rate any of the new players they got in, apart from...
Yeah, you're spot on, Graham. Totally agree with that. It's something else I would have brought up when we start to get into the old firm, as we normally do in a bit more depth than we should. But the thing is, yeah, you're right. None of them are fit for purpose, in my view. None of them. Now, when you're looking at players throughout the season, you're seeing some of these players that are playing in Europa League. You see players at non-League England, and you see, and I'm thinking, why did Old Firm no sign some of these guys? It'll cost them half the money of what they're paying out and people that's punting them, and without going back to £8 million for a centre forward that scores occasionally and stuff like that. And you say, why are they not looking at ordinary players that you think, wait a minute, he'll do a job? It's because he's not got the recommendation from an agent, or he's got that profile that you think, does he fit the bill of what you need at your club? Doesn't matter whether it's Old Firm or not. Does he fit the bill? Celtic have not been down that road. For whatever reason, they have brought in, I don't know, half a dozen players in that period. I looked at them last night and watched them, and they still haven't got a decent centre forward. Still haven't got it. What have they got in their books there? 4? And there's no one of them are good enough to play with Celtic. Or you could say in the Premier League. And I just think it's dire the way they do their business, Graham. Hearts has been very, very good in a lot of ways. Very, very good for the resources you've got. And, you know, Ian's looking at Aberdeen, and they're maybe going down that road as well. Not with spending money, but with bringing youngsters in, especially Scandinavian boys who potentially will do the job. But fans are impatient. And if it doesn't work, the manager's in trouble. But overall, for me, I don't think you should be throwing money at it unless you're guaranteed success. And you might say, well, that'll never happen in football. I think when you look at the Old Firm, a team of 2 in a league that they're in, they should be able to guarantee success with the money in the gap against the other teams.
I think if you look at one of the most successful managers ever, and Alec Ferguson, the famous quote was, "You'll never win anything with a bunch of kids," which he did. And to be fair, he learnt his lesson at Pittodrie because he literally had a bunch of local kids, within reason, playing for him in the 80s. And albeit he was very limited on the squad he had, so he had to play, and 1 or 2 were injured and they still played, and they had long-term effects due to that injuries. But he learnt for that. But to protect the youth that he had and not to expose them too much. But he had a very limited budget. But he went and did exactly the same at Manchester United. Well, and then there came a time when then all of a sudden their philosophy changed and they just started buying big. But he managed to do it twice. So I think the clubs need to have a look. There's loads of people out there playing football at grassroots levels, and we just need to enhance it. And it takes a bit of time. Don't get me wrong; it does take time, and you've got to be there for the long run. But a lot of managers, unfortunately, are not there for the long run. They know they're maybe 6, 7 defeats away from getting the sack. So,
but how many players are we going to see in the future that will come up through the ranks, that could start in our Scottish second division, go to 1 championship, and then into the Premier League? And even more so, managers. What chance has managers got? When did we last see a manager from one of our lower divisions getting promoted into the Scottish Premier League? Again, it's like you touched on, Cammy. Have they got to have a foreign name, or does this pacify the supporters with somebody they don't know? I just can't get the mindset with this.
Ticket sales, you know what I mean? That's the problem. Bob McGlunchy's not going to attract a season ticket.
Sorry?
It's all about season tickets. You know, it's all about that kind of stuff. You know, somebody with an ordinary sounding name, a John Smith or a Dennis Newell or a Graham Duthie or an Ian Harrison, is not going to attract the season tickets. You know, and the ticket buying public, the way Mohamed Doufis is, or you know, I mean, it's just pulling names out there. You know, so it's all about that. It's all about appearances. It's all about trying to attract season tickets, sponsorship, and everything else. You know, and unless you've got an exotic sounding name, irrespective of how shite you are on the park, you know, it's that's what it is. You know, it's exactly.
You're spot on, Cammy. You're spot on, and it seems to be going and on and on. And for some unknown reason, the board of directors at all these clubs seem to think it's glamorous to be going into the pub or the restaurant and saying, "Oh, I know Tommy Mikazuno," or whatever, and you go, "Well, you're not, one massive ego trip." You know, that's just a guy who can play football.
Yep, precisely. You know, but bringing it back, obviously, to this week, it is obviously Old Firm Sunday this week. Rangers against Celtic, 2 weeks in the bounce. They've got the league game this week, the cup game the following week. Looking ahead to this week, Graham, you've already said it's a pivotal week for Hearts. It's a massive week for both these clubs, particularly Martin O'Neill. You know, because if Martin O'Neill loses next week and this week, Celtic season's finished, and Celtic have wound up a trophyless season this season. Dennis, the likelihood of that happening, you know, first and foremost. I think Rangers are playing the better football. I think Rangers are the better side, you know, but obviously, yes, it's an old firm game. You know, you would expect a share of the spoils, maybe. Rangers win once, Celtic win one, or...
I think if you divvy it up, that's the way you would look at it from a neutral and say it keeps the balance going and there's an opportunity there. But if I look at the squad of two players, I think Danny Rowe has come in and done a brilliant job with the resources he's got. That's a bag of mince he's dealing with. I mean, total garbage, right? It's the worst Rangers squad I have seen in the history, right? And people might say you're talking garbage, maybe back in the 80s early, that was poor. That is the worst I have seen as a squad. And he's done great with them because he's got them working their socks off and they have a bit more belief in themselves. So sometimes I've always said that we lacking skill, you can make up for in energy and effort. And that's what I think Rangers are doing now. But they're getting carried away with it. They think they've arrived. Even the manager having a go at Celtic and vice versa the night on the news, having a wee dig at each other, when in actual fact, they should just get on with the job and see what he can produce at the weekend from the Rangers camp. They're poor, and then, not to take it away, Celtic are doubly as bad, right? You're now looking at the situation where Scales is going to be the mainstay of Celtic's defence at the weekend. Wow, I never thought I'd ever be seeing that in my lifetime. The equivalent of Scales being the mainstay. That is quite worrying. It's just no good enough. And it's a shortfall of Celtic keeping the money under the bed instead of going out and spending it. And they deserve all they get. Rangers are doing their best, and I see probably more commitment, although they've signed a ton of duds. Celtic have deliberately kept the money to some degree, but what they have signed are rubbish as well, as Graham's pointed out earlier. And I just look at the two teams and say, I'll tell you what, I want to see a stat on Sunday. When you look through all the stats, it says, how many bad passes is there in this match? And that's what you don't see. It's all about passes completed, passes here, there, passes. They don't tell you, by the way, him in the centre of midfield had 30 bad passes in a game. No, they don't show you that. And that's what I'd like to see as a stat, because I'll tell you what, it would be quite embarrassing. And Trusty, self-inflicted, and I hope you come on to VAR and refereeing before we finish, because I want to pick up on a few points there. But as far as Celtic season and Rangers season, it's very much alive. And as you say, Cammy, the next 2 weeks is so important for both the teams. And Hearts, if you can keep a good grip in this, can go tramp them on, and go over the finish line. And I think that's what should, although it's not deserved 100%, that's the way it should end up.
You'll be hoping for a draw on Sunday, Graham, I'm assuming.
I'm hoping for a draw, one of the worst games ever. And after sending off for both teams, I will quite happily take that. I've heard a few Hearts fans being asked before, who do you want to win? And they're going, a Celtic win wouldn't be bad. A draw is the only acceptable answer for that. It has to be a draw. That is the only way that I want the game to go. But
9 each, Graham. 9 each.
Oh, I'll be quite happy with that and a few sending offs. I mean,
I think the multiple sending offs is a good one, yeah.
I mean, Rangers probably are the better team, but I think if you're Rangers right now, and given how brutal he's been recently, I'm smashing shots at Kasper Schmeichel every day of the week because he has been absolutely awful recently. I mean, some of the goals he's conceded, some of the points that he has cost Celtic recently, he was a fantastic goalkeeper. There's no doubt about that, but he's done. I mean, how bad must Sinisalo be to not get started in that team? Because every time I see Kasper Schmeichel, he makes a mistake.
Well, somebody said on one of the radio programs last weekend, I was listening, he said, Schmeichel's arms have gone.
It's apparently his left shoulder.
His legs have gone. His arms are gone. I thought it was brilliant.
I remember a while ago, Jamie Carragher had a quote about Casemiro where he said, leave the football before the football leaves you. Well, I think it's definitely left Kasper Schmeichel. Like, he's done.
He's having a hard time, yeah.
Dennis, I've been saying that to you for most of the season, that Schmeichel's been done. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, last week was probably the straw that broke everybody's back, you know, in terms of against Stuttgart. Had an absolute howler, you know. I've had girlfriends go down quicker than that. You know, I mean, it was horrendous, absolutely horrendous. His performance last week. You know, I mean, he really was very, very poor, to such an extent, Graham, that Sinisalo started last night in the European game, obviously kept a clean sheet. Again, no comments on girlfriends there, you know, but he kept.
I
would agree with one point there. The first comment, you're deluding yourself, right? Forget about that. The second one, the goalkeeper was absolutely outstanding last night.
He played well last night. That's for sure.
I would put him in goals because you don't know how Schmeichel's been at training. He might be able to get his cell lifted, and he's an experienced guy. But the goalkeeper last night was exceptional. I thought he'd done really, really well.
Yeah,
he played really well. Yeah, he earned Celtic the result last night. Yeah. That's for sure. You know, but as I say, a pivotal weekend for sure. The draw is a great result for Hearts. To my mind, if either of these two sides win, the other side's probably out of the title race. You know, particularly I think if Rangers win this weekend, I think Celtic are done in terms of the title race. You know, so a draw is probably not necessarily the worst result for the Old Firm either this weekend. You know, because I think it probably just does keep the two of them in it. But again, Graham Hart to take care of themselves this weekend, you know, and they can't rely on VAR to do that for them, as we know. You know, VAR did use a turn last week by Trusty's sending off against Hibs. You know, I think that was unmerited.
What was
Trusty
unmerited?
Was very, very, I don't think Trusty
sending off?
was sent off last week against Hibs.
Oh, without doubt.
I don't think he should have been sent off. You think he should have been?
Oh, without doubt. Without doubt.
Oh,
He's lashed out at an opponent.
Oh, come on, that's not a lash out.
Well, what is it then?
Okay.
If you do that in the park, you're having a go at an opposition player. You're not allowed to do that.
Shake the player off. All he's done is shake his arm. You know, to shake the player off.
He's actually come down heavy on him. No, I'm sorry.
I don't think that's a. I disagree.
To me, I think that was a sending off. I'll tell you what, though, you know what? See if it had been, there'd be no VAR, he wouldn't have been sent off. Because when I looked a few times at this, the referee looked as if he was ready to turn away, and as he turned his head slightly away, in comes into his headpiece. We're looking at this, and he turned back again, and that was when the VAR intervened. But I think without VAR, Trusty might have got away with it. Personally, I thought it was quite a physical blow that he struck on the defender, or whatever position the boy was opposite.
I just don't think. I don't think it was violent conduct, Dennis. I'll be honest. I don't think he struck out. You know, I just don't think it was violent conduct.
Where do you draw the line with somebody hitting an opponent? Is it when you take his teeth out, or blacken his eye, or burst his nose? What would you do?
He's just kind of shook him off.
No.
You know, I think he's basically put his arm out to try and get out of the hold.
But it was an aggressive hit.
Yeah, I don't.
There was aggression in it. It wasn't as if just get your arm out the road. He actually come down quite heavy on him. Have a look at it again. Tell me next week.
I'll have another look again.
But tell me this: who committed the first foul? Was it the guy grabbing him as if to stop him from moving? I mean,
but that was a hand up, Ian. There's a difference. That's you just trying to hold him off, right? But when he put his hand up,
trying to stop him from moving.
Yeah,
simple as that. He's trying to stop him from moving in a position. The whole free kick corner thing has gone mental.
Yes,
VAR's only supposed to be getting involved if it's clear and obvious, and to me, I don't think that was a clear and obvious situation. And I think, again, as well, they're only supposed to get involved if the referee misses it. Well, the referee didn't miss it. He saw it in real time and basically said that he felt it was nothing.
He didn't rate it a red card.
VAR should not have been getting involved in that one, I don't think at all, you know. But anyway, that's that one. You've got the Liam Scales penalty. A bit of inconsistency involved in that one, you know what I mean? Obviously, Liam Scales pulled down in the box, and obviously the penalty kick not given. But the biggest one of lot is obviously the Richard King red card. You know,
exactly. I'm going to bring up. Yeah, I've got a session and a rant on this.
That was
Carry
absolute.
on.
That was madness. You know, that was never a red card in 4 months of Sundays. You know,
You know what?
you're going to disagree with me again, aren't you?
No, I'm going to 100% agree with you that it should never have been a red card. And you know something here, we need to look seriously at our game if it's going to go forward.
Yep.
Because Slattery, and I'll say it now, cheated. And I hate cheats in a football match.
Yep.
Right? I have watched this about 10 times to try and get my head clear that Slattery didn't cheat. Now, I also looked through that game, and I know St Mirren were being beaten 3-0 at the point King supposedly affected the game to the point that he gets sent off. Then after that, at 3-0 with 11 men, St Mirren have probably not got a great chance of winning anything out of this game, but there's a better chance that they'll not lose 2 other goals in the back of this and might come back into it, because I think it was around about 65th minute or something like that, right?
Yeah, there was time on the clock. Aye.
That's right. So let's look at another scenario here. Slattery, if you haven't seen it, was making his way back up the park, and so was King. King brushed against him, right? And Slattery then tugs his arm. King turns round. At that point, I think the referee clocks it, and he tries to brush his hand away. At that, Slattery goes down as if somebody has been up the terrace and with a sniper.
Poor
And he
lads.
goes straight to the ground, and I'm thinking, what are you doing? So King gets sent off because that's, and I think VAR done that. Did VAR get
Yeah.
involved?
No,
Right?
it was a linesman. It was a
Sorry?
linesman.
Right.
It was a linesman
Okay.
that saw it.
Yep. So the bottom line is there's incompetence no matter what way you look at it from the officials. Then on Tuesday it gets announced, or when I heard it, that King, it was reversed. It wasn't a red card. Right? It wasn't nothing. Then I look at Slattery, and the stats in the game was fouls committed, 0. And I'm thinking, no, cheating doesn't count then. So here's where we're stacked up with this, and where clubs and the game needs tidied up. Imagine the game was at 0-0 and King gets sent off, and Slattery still being in the park who's cheated. Motherwell go on and win 2-0. Surely the fact that they have looked at it as evidence, Motherwell have cheated St Mirren in my eyes out of the game because they got 2 goals playing against 10. Therefore, the point should be deducted, or the goals that while Slattery was involved in the game should not have counted. If he doesn't have any impact in any of the 2 goals, because he had 3 assists in that game, I know they were before the sending off, but in my eyes, the rules need looked at to the point that you can't have St Mirren, who are penalised and struggling at this moment in time, punished even more by a bad decision. The cheat, Slattery, stays on the park, and the team then railroad right over the top of them and end up with 5 goals. There's something wrong there. He should have been taken to task. If he's pronounced that he's not guilty, King, then you've got to look at the offender who caused that creation, and that was Slattery, and therefore he should have been taken to task, and more so the club, because you've got to stamp this out.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
100% agree.
Yep.
But by the way, you're maybe right.
Yeah.
Maybe Trusty should have went.
Sorry,
Maybe Trusty should have went.
say that
I'm keeping
again.
that one. I'm saying maybe Trusty should have been sent off, or maybe
Oh, I
actually
thought you said it twice there. Thanks, Cammy. Appreciate that.
But again, yes, for the offence. But again, when the referee has seen it and said there's
Mhm.
nothing in it,
Yeah.
you know, it's one of these ones. You know, I thought VAR was only supposed to get involved if it was a clear and obvious mistake by the referee or that you hadn't seen. You know, so that's the thing. But anyway, that's by the by.
Yeah.
Graham, your thoughts on VAR and obviously what Dennis has said there as regards Slattery and King?
How long have I got?
On you go. Dennis took 20 minutes, so he's left you about 3.
I've had this conversation numerous times with different folk, and I'm going to say what I've said numerous times on this. I do not believe that VAR is the problem. Technology works. The issue is that our officials are incompetent. They're not biased. They're not biased. They're incompetent.
I agree with that.
I genuinely think, and I've said this to a few folk, I think this season is probably the worst I have seen in terms of officials. Every single week, I am seeing horrendous decisions and the lack of consistency, where 1 week you will get a red card or a penalty, the next week for exactly the same thing, you won't. And that's the I've got. You hear Willie Collum on that review show, which I do think is quite transparent, where a lot of things he says I do agree with, but a lot of the times I honestly think as well, and I've said this before as well, I think referees now are refereeing by VAR. They do not give decisions because they think, well, do you know what, if I've got it wrong, VAR will sort it. That is not what it was meant to be there for. It was brought in for exactly the reason, clear and obvious. But I think referees are refereeing by VAR. If I go back to the Callum Slattery one, that is probably one of the worst decisions I have ever seen.
Yeah.
How on earth, I don't blame the referee because he didn't see it, but how the linesman has thought there's something in that, and then how the person on VAR has not said, you've got that wrong. It's an absolute embarrassment. I also look at the fact to use this term now for denying a goal score opportunity, dogs or whatever it is. Aberdeen against Motherwell. The Motherwell guy gets sent off when it's basically on the halfway line for denying a goal score opportunity. You then look at Livingston against Rangers. Mikey Moore is literally going to shoot, and he's brought down. It's a kick or a penalty. It's not. But the referee was play on. That for me is denying a goal score opportunity. That's a red card. So I honestly think this for me, and every fan of every club could go through decisions that have been wrong this season. We can all do it, but I do not think for 1 minute the referees are biased. I just think they are incredibly incompetent. And it's the same referees that I keep hearing over and over again that are making really poor decisions. What happens to them? They get a game the next week. Where's the punishment for making bad decisions? Yeah. So I just think, honestly, I think VAR, the technology's there. It works if you use it properly. But the issue we've got is our referees don't use it properly. And that's my issue.
I think you'll find you're actually getting better standard of refereeing in the lower leagues because they're not relying on it. So they're having to make a decision. They are having to make a decision, as they always have done. I think there was a game a few weeks ago, Alan Shearer in FA Cup, Newcastle against, I can't remember who it was. I think, was it Aston Villa? I can't remember. Yeah. Anyway, and the refereeing decisions there was horrendous because they'd no VAR. And there was 3 absolute crackers. Alan Shearer was going off his head about it, but I mean, Newcastle got a result in the end. But he had said exactly what Graham has just said: is they are relying on VAR to make decisions for them, and all they're doing is letting the play go, then blow the whistle. Okay, let's look at the screen. Somebody else can decide.
That's pretty much it.
How much do you think an average worker is getting paid that's watching these matches? Right. Now, you tell me if somebody went to their work and they made as many mistakes as these referees are doing at this moment in time, do you think they would be getting paid between £880 and £900 a game, with a VAR official earning £450 per match? How disgusting is that when the product that you're being given is no fit for it? And Graham's right to rattle his gums about the refereeing standard. It's absolutely appalling. And it's an excuse now for their incompetence. It really is. They can't make a decision on their own because they're not capable. And we're back to the old acorn that I keep saying, they haven't got a Scooby about how the game is played. They haven't got a clue. They are only fit rule books. That's all they are that's running about the park.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the referees once upon a time were capable. I think they've backed right off. They have backed right off, and they're letting because they know that they are being judged by what is on the screen. Not only that, the pundits are ripping them to death as well if they make it.
But rightly so, Ian. Somebody's got to hold them down. You know, somebody's got to hold them down, and nobody is doing that, as Graham says. You know,
the point I'm making though is that if you're going to be paid that kind of money, you need to be at the top of your game, right? Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think it's value for money.
Yeah. And that goes back to the basics.
A terrible job. I would never do it, so I'm being hypocritical there. But I'll tell you what, I would put my face in the firing line for an hour and a half for £900. I'll put up with it. But the bottom line is they're getting away with it. And as Graham rightly said, they're not being punished. I'm talking about players being punished for diving and cheating.
Yeah.
There's an element of that as well, but it's not necessarily the referee. It's the people that's actually supervising them and overseeing them and saying, that's not good enough. We need to get somebody else that can do the job.
Yeah.
But it's the same goldfish bowl and rubbish we get sent out every week. And the punters are the people that's actually paying the penalty for that bad performances. And you watch between now and the end of the season, there'll be results here that could swing that far around the wrong way that the league title could actually hinge on a bad decision between VAR and these referees. And it would not surprise me for a minute if it went down to the wire that a refereeing decision created the monster of the league title passing its hands to somebody by default. And that's my worry, because they're poor.
I think what they've also got to remember is that they are in the entertainment department. That is what they are. They are in Saturday afternoon entertainment. And if people no longer are entertained, they will find something else to do.
Sorry,
Graham, I cut in on you there.
Right, on you go, Graham.
I said exactly the same thing as what Dennis has just said there in a group chat, that my worry is that a title race is going to come down to a really bad refereeing decision. That is a big concern that I've got. And I think as well, whether you're at a game or whether you're watching it, you constantly see the referee doing that in his ear for a bad decision. And I think the game is so stop. The game is so stop-start. There is no
fluency.
Looked at. There is no fluency in the game because the referee's going like that. Anything to say? It's honestly it's brutal. But again, it comes down to officials. They don't know what they're doing, and they keep relying on someone watching a screen a million miles away to say, you've got that wrong.
Could it be, Graham, that this VAR is too much for them to take in? It's a distraction, right? They're having to multitask, if you really ask that question. When the job, I'm going to defend them here, the job is very difficult as is. But if you're running along and your eyes are everywhere and you're trying, and somebody's rattling stuff into your ear, surely you've got to be a special person that can handle all of that. And I don't think we have got special people. And that's the problem. I don't think they can handle it and cope with decision making and also communicating. And that's what seems to be in my head the problem. That it's constant, that it's as if every single step of progress in the game is hauled back by VAR to try and destroy the match for all the entertainment that people are going to get.
I think as well, you listen to when they do the VAR review show and stuff, and you listen to the audio. There's about four or five people talking in that audio, and it's like, how can you get? And then you've got players talking as well. How can you possibly have any kind of? You're getting a complete distraction. You don't need that many folk in one little room talking about a decision. It just needs one person. But there's about
that's the point I'm making. That's the point I'm trying to make to defend them. But whether that would be the case or would just sweep them under the carpet for their incompetence, I don't know. But the bottom line is it could be an element there of distraction. That's the last thing they need when they just don't feel capable now of making a proper decision without support in a hotel room or whatever room VAR sits in.
But you've got to remember, somebody sat down and deemed them competent to be referees. They passed a lot of exams and they've done a lot of scrutiny to be where they are. But just as the guys are saying, there's a lot more things been thrown in the melting pot now for them. And I do feel sorry for them.
I've done the referees. The referees is piss easy. It's so easy to get through, to qualify as a referee, sat in a classroom. It's very, very, it's not a difficult task to do that. Yes, taking that one apart, I've never done that, at no time have I had the fitness levels to even get up and doing a part once, let alone umpteen.
It's murder. I done the reserves when I was Albion Rovers against the first team, right?
Aye.
Never again. No.
Horrendous. Exactly. But anyway, one thing before we finish off tonight, I've shared in our group chat earlier on. I've had 2 or 3 of the guys commenting on it. The old enemy. Pretty much, obviously, what's happening down south of the border. There's every possibility within the next 5 years that I think Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, Ireland, and the rest of Europe could indeed find themselves ahead of England in the world rankings. Because today, the English, Dennis, you've maybe drawn a wee thing, because you've obviously not seen it. Today, Graham has, he knows where I'm going with this. Today, the English FA appointed Kevin Thelwell.
I read it earlier. Yeah, I read it. Yeah.
The progression of elite homegrown coaches, the FA announced. CEO Mark Billingham has commented that a strong pipeline of homegrown coaches who can come through as potential candidates to manage your national team.
Mm-hmm.
So Kevin Thelwell is charged with the succession planning of finding the next England manager.
Excellent. Great choice.
Will it be
England
Russell?
are not going to win another tournament for the next 40 years.
Yep.
Seriously, where are these people getting this network of contacts that's getting them jobs? They just seem to bounce along and get other jobs when they're totally incompetent. It isn't a repeat. It's one of the jobs that you actually can be rewarded for failure.
Yep.
Yeah. Unless you're at the lower divisions, you're papped. You're into the gutter, right? In the top
Earlier
league,
on,
you're rewarded for failure. Nothing. You're
No.
a dud. All right, okay, give me 20 million. I'll move on somewhere else.
See when you look at it, Kevin Thelwell, ex-Rangers, Wolves, Derby, Preston, Everton, and New York Red Bulls. The guy's failed 6 times.
But it's on your CV. We've got Chancellor Exchequer lied in her CV, and she's got one of the top jobs in the country. So do you think that's a big deal that he presents his CV to them and they go, oh, that's fine. Could you talk us through that? Oh, failure here for you. Don't say he's a failure. He's going to be so hyped up there that there's steam coming out their ears thinking, why did we not go for this guy earlier? This is how it works, Cammy. It's not a matter about them looking in depth into Rangers and the disaster that you had. They're not doing that. They just look at the CV and they're in a merry-go-round and it's picking up bucks everywhere you go. So,
very pleased for him.
Oh,
yes.
Listen, great Graham, 6 failures, and he's now the guy tasked with getting the next England manager. You know, the succession planning for the next England coach or the next England manager after Thomas Tuchel.
That'll not be picked up in England.
It's a respected journalist. It's Henry Winter that shared that, you know, so it's definitely...
But that'll not hit the headlines, because that's embarrassing. And the journalist that would be writing that would be the one that wouldn't get back in the door again.
Yeah, I'll guarantee you that's not on Football Focus tomorrow.
No, that's right. Oh, here you are. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Listen, guys, it's been good to be back tonight. Obviously, as I say, we've had a 3-week sabbatical there. It definitely has been good to be back. Ian, thanks as always. It's always good to hear your thoughts.
Yeah,
what's not happening.
Nice talking to you.
It's always good to hear your thoughts on what's not happening up in Aberdeen.
Yeah,
Graham,
well, not a lot.
10 games,
yeah.
10 games to go, Graham. You can do it.
It's getting closer. I'm not going to lie, it's getting closer.
We need to keep regular touch, Graham, because there's still a lot to come out in the wash.
Yeah. Top by the split. The split is going to be good this season. You know, when you consider what you're going to have. Rangers, Celtic, Hearts, Falkirk. Motherwell are playing.
That's pretty much it now, isn't it? The split. It's Dundee United are not going to catch Falkirk, are they?
No.
I think Motherwell's going to have a big say in this title race, by the way. And I've said that for weeks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the goals they've actually conceded, they've conceded the least amount of goals all season, even though they're playing very heroic football up front. Well, they're still not conceding goals.
Look how the cats among the pigeons come the weekend, right? Right, forget Hearts are sitting there on their own. Rangers are sitting in 56 points, Celtic in 54. Celtic have one game in hand, right? Let's assume they draw and Motherwell win. Just like Motherwell's get Dundee United, right? That would then take Motherwell to 53 points, 1 point behind Celtic, who have still got a game in hand, right? And only 1 game swing to catch Rangers. I'll tell you what a finish that would be. Hearts, Motherwell, and one of the Old Firm next.
Yep.
That would be really refreshing to see. And that's sitting here with the West of Scotland hat on too, that basically says, I just want to see good football winning this championship.
Yeah, because Celtic have got Aberdeen on Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's 3 points for Celtic then. Sorry, Ian.
No, I agree. But the last time I turned up, I mean, that was a long time ago. But I'm actually going on Wednesday, so we'll see.
All right. Yeah, well, I was wrong there. I think
it's Wednesday.
What have we got here? We've got Motherwell. I've got Dundee United tomorrow, and then the fixtures, if I'm correct, they then have Dundee away. So that'll be interesting.
You've got to fancy me take 6 points for there, you know. So yeah, yes. At the end of the day, there's still a lot to be decided. You know, Motherwell, you're right, Graham. They've got a big say in this title race. They've got at least the Old Firm to play twice. Depends how the split goes as well. And also, again, once we get to the split, where are the sides going to be playing? Who's going to be at home? Who's going to be away? You know, I think that's going to be massive as well, you know, in terms of how the fixtures are adjudged and in terms of who's going to be the home side, you know. So there's so much to play for. It's great the fact that we've got an exciting title race this season. And you can catch it with us here every Friday night because, guys, as we all know, everything is always happening on the pitch. Good night.